names of some countries. And you might ask, what do these countries have in particular? They all banned corporal punishment and have severe penalties for it. Countries such as Austria, Costa Rica, Iceland, Israel, Netherlands, New Zealand, Portugal, Spain, Sweden, Romania, Uruguay, Venezuela, and Ukraine. And I want to point out one particular country that really caught my eye, and that is Finland. In the year 1983, they banned corporal punishment in their country. And as we look today, as the last year report stated, that Finland has the highest educational system in the world. So who are we not to try to adopt a measure from their society? The members of the government might be stating that I am only calling countries from Europe, Asia. Well, let me call from another paper, Madam Speaker. According to the Prohibiting Corporal Punishment of Children in the Caribbean Progress Report 2012. I have a short list here, but it is very important. The Bahamas, Belize, Dominica, Haiti, Jamaica, and Puerto Rico have all banned corporal punishment. I just want to take a little quote from one or two of the countries. Dominica. A permit holder operating a facility shall ensure that no child while attending the facility is subjected to emotional, physical, or sexual abuse, or to physical, emotional neglect, or to shaking, shoving, hitting, spanking, or any other form of corporal punishment. One more. In Jamaica, a child in place of safety, school, children's home, or child in the care of a fit person shall have the following rights: to be free from corporal punishment. Before I resume my seat, I would also like to back up what the Minister of Education said. The teachers are prepared and are well taught in dealing with children, though they might not be suited to deal corporal punishment, but they have also done psychology in their degrees, and I am sure all of our teachers in Trinidad and Tobago are qualified and are suited to do this. My opposition called theories. Well, Madam Speaker, let me call some theories too. There is the multiple intelligence theory proposed by Dr. Howard.
To speak in time for the honorable member of Tunapuna has expired.
Madam Speaker, I beg to move that the speaking time for the honorable member be extended by a further 3 minutes.
Honorable members, the question is that the speaking time for the honorable member of Tunapuna be extended by 3 minutes. All in favor say aye. Aye. Any against? The ayes have it. Member, you may continue.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. As I was saying, proposed by Dr. Howard Gardner in 2006, stated that children have certain forms of intelligence, and teachers were taught in their training how to deal with the different behaviors and how to teach children with these sort of intelligences. Also, there is the Erickson stages of development theory, where teachers learn the different stages of development in a child. So doesn't that mean they are well equipped to handle different behaviors and different wrongdoings of children? They are well equipped to do this. And Madam Speaker, I close with saying that I want the opposition to stop thinking about the teachers for a minute and think about the students. As I recall, the member for Komuto Manzanala stated that you can't bend an old tree. We're not comparing children to trees here. They are human beings. So, Madam Speaker, I close with saying that corporal punishment should stay illegal in Trinidad and Tobago and not give the right to teachers to beat students. I thank you, Madam Speaker.
Honorable members, it is now 12:30 p.m. This House will now suspend for 1 hour for lunch and will resume at 1:30 p.m.
The Honorable the Speaker.
We welcome you to the 11th National Youth Parliament, which takes place on Monday, October 28th, 2013.
The Honourable Member for St. Augustine. Thank you, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, now this morning, the Honourable Member for Laventille West made a statement that when corporal punishment is administered to students, it has a negative psychological and emotional effect on them. Madam Speaker, I would just like to say the perspective of that Honourable Member is one-sided and incomplete. Madam Speaker, according to B.F. Skinner's theory of operant conditioning, and I quote, punishment decreases the likelihood of the unwanted behavior. Madam Speaker, we on the opposition side today are saying that given the state of our nation's schools, violence and bullying are heading to catastrophic proportions at schools in this country. As a consequence of this, Madam Speaker, corporal punishment should be reintroduced into schools without further delay. Madam Speaker, corporal punishment is not simply a matter of beating, big beating little. The punishment has to come with an explanation as to why the punishment is being meted out, an explanation of what was wrong about the student's behavior which warrants the punishment. Madam Speaker, there's a famous quote, and we all like to quote today. Madam Speaker, one must get burned to learn. According to this statement, in the 21st century, Madam Speaker, in order for a child to learn a lesson or to never to repeat an inappropriate behavior, corporal punishment should be administered. Madam Speaker, according to Sharice Clark, Caribbean Journal of Cultural Studies, Volume 1, corporal punishment should be reintroduced because as a result of it, it made us grow up to become responsible, civilized, and disciplined citizens. Madam Speaker, I share the sentiments of my fellow colleague, the Honourable Member of Tobago East, that I could rightfully say I am a product of good licks as well. Madam Speaker, had it not been for corporal punishment, I would not have been here today. I would not have been responsible and civilized and disciplined as I am today. Madam Speaker, as a child, when we broke a rule or acted in an inappropriate manner, corporal punishment was administered. And as a result, we learned to respect the customs, the norms, and the rules of our society, as well as to learn to act in a polite manner, helping us to grow up as well-behaved, civilized, and disciplined citizens. Madam Speaker, one of the aims of the education system is to create a safe environment where learning can take place by all students. Now, Madam Speaker, when students fear going to school because of their contemporaries, the education system is failing these students whose experiences are made difficult by the defiant few. Madam Speaker, there needs to be a way of dealing with these students who display aggression, such that they are not allowed to disrupt another's education, but which serves to help that defiant student. Madam Speaker, what I'm recommending here today is, yes, use corporal punishment for its deterrent effect, but use it in conjunction with counseling and the support of the student who has perpetrated the violence. Madam Speaker, there has to be a reason why the student is acting the way he or she is behaving. And these reasons need to be addressed. But at the same time, that student needs to understand that having their own issues to deal with is no excuse for exhibiting violence towards another student, and such behavior will not be allowed or tolerated. Madam Speaker, as a result of all these incidents of violence and bullying taking place in among our great country, Trinidad and Tobago, Madam Speaker, it is recommended that corporal punishment should be reintroduced into our schools today without further delay. I thank you. The Honourable Minister of Energy and Energy Affairs.
Good afternoon, Madam Speaker, members of the government and members of the opposition. Madam Speaker, this morning, I do not plan to stay my whole speaking time, Madam Speaker. Reason being is what this opposition has proposed is pitiful this morning, Madam Speaker, and this government shall not stand here and debate such false accusations, such improper constructs that are being put forward this morning, Madam Speaker. And just to clear up something, Madam Speaker, the member of Port of Spain South, I would just like to highlight to her, Madam Speaker, that this prestigious house is not Baker's Scouting for Talent or Digital Rising Stars, Madam Speaker, and that singing is unacceptable here, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, further on, I would like to state that this morning what the opposition have postulated is definitions of corporal punishment in terms of European societies, in terms of the UN, UNICEF, and all these other statutory boards, Madam Speaker. However, we must face reality. We are in Trinidad and Tobago, and what we must do as a government and opposition is to unmask corporal punishment for what it really is. And that is any act of intent in the form of physical punishment. Madam Speaker, let me note that what the opposition has done today, Madam Speaker, is take combating violence in its literal meaning, Madam Speaker, and they are literally trying to combat against violence. Madam Speaker, let me further state that this society that we populate, Madam Speaker, is one that is faced with a reaction. And let me highlight that every action is faced with that reaction, Madam Speaker, and the action that my dear opposition proposes this morning is corporal punishment. So what this government must now analyze, Madam Speaker, is what are the reactions? And the reactions are what will come from the students, Madam Speaker. However, these actions, Madam Speaker, if I may highlight, are the possible outbreaks of gangs or student and teachers war, Madam Speaker. And this prestigious government shall not tolerate this type of nonsense, Madam Speaker. Let me highlight. The Ministry of Education released an article entitled, "Violence is not discipline, and discipline should never be violence." And I quote, Madam Speaker, "Trinidad and Tobago is a signatory to the UN's Convention on the Rights of the Child, and as such, the government upholds and enforces Article 19.1 of the said convention, which states, state parties shall take all appropriate legislative, administrative, social, and educational measures to protect the child from all forms of physical or mental violence, injury or abuse, neglect or negligent treatment, maltreatment or exploitation, including sexual abuse, while in the care of parents, legal guardians, or any other person who has the care of the child, Madam Speaker." I would also like to highlight that what is mainly proposed by this pitiful opposition this morning, Madam Speaker, they are so misleading and so misguided that they actually reconstructed the term violence into the term discipline, Madam Speaker. And this shall not be accepted by this government. Madam Speaker, let me further go on to say that we are living in a civilized society. Therefore, the opposition proposition of the ideology of slavery and primitive times, Madam Speaker, shall not be accepted in this civilized society. Meaning that we are a progressive civilization. And gearing towards a 2020 vision, Madam Speaker, this government is not willing to go backwards 13 years prior to now, Madam Speaker. To end on a note, let me say that children must not be victims of any form of violence, especially physical violence, in the name of discipline. And legally and morally, children are entitled to care, security, and a good upbringing. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Member for Point 14.
Madam Speaker, I rise to join my colleagues in advocating for the reintroduction of corporal punishment into the schools. As a nation, there is a need for us to revisit our traditional values, which has made us a civil and disciplined society. It is amazing, Madam Speaker, the levels of indiscipline in our nation's schools today. Indiscipline is at an astronomical level. Our teachers are at their wits' end in dealing with this indiscipline in our schools. It is all well and good for those on the sidelines to sit and whine about corporal punishment being morally wrong and outrageous. But, Madam Speaker, they are not on the grounds. They are not with the teachers, the ones who have been faced with the terrors these students have become. Madam Speaker, if you ask teachers, those on the front lines, those who fear the disruptive students 5 days a week, they say that they want corporal punishment to be brought back into the school system. They say that they want corporal punishment as an additional method to deal with the disruptive students in the nation's schools. No, sir. Madam Speaker, those methods that they have currently do not work. Suspension does not work. Community service does not work. Madam Speaker, giving lines has never worked. Madam Speaker, given the gravity of the problem, we are left with little option.
Point of order, 33-6. She's reading from her speech. Honorable members, may I remind you all not to read from the speech. You may refer to your speech for guidelines, but do not read for your speech. Honorable member, you can continue.
Madam Speaker, we are left with little option. Reintroducing corporal punishment is the way. Madam Speaker, the use of corporal punishment is in itself a deterrent to bullies. Madam Speaker, we need to give the bullies some licks to show them that they are not in control of the schools. Madam Speaker, the best way to control a bully is to beat a bully.
May the member give way?
No, sir. The truth is, most of us are here because we got a little flogging. I wish to end by sharing an anecdote. When I was in primary school and we started doing mental math, on one occasion, I got 5 sums out of 10 correct. Madam Speaker, I got 5 lashes for those 5 sums that I got wrong. And from that day, I got 10 sums right every time. Madam Speaker, it is not the desire of the opposition to ignore the other disciplinary measures, but we are just here to say that corporal punishment should be added to the ones that are already there to make an impact and change the indiscipline in our nation's schools. I thank you, Madam Speaker.
The Honorable Minister of Public Utilities.
Madam Speaker, I wish to issue a public apology to every single citizen within the confines of Trinidad and Tobago for the mere fact that the opposition is making a mockery out of this parliament. The very place that these citizens have asked to come into power to protect their rights, to work with them and to seek their interests is now compromising their rights and endangering the lives of their children. Madam Speaker, what have we become? I have prepared several points for today, but it seems as though I will spend my entire time refuting the horribly constructed arguments of the opposition. First of all, the member for St. Joseph gave an example of a student who loves to watch TV, yet because she did something wrong, her mother banned her from watching TV. Madam Speaker, I thought she was on the side to instill corporal punishment. We are merely doing the same thing. She did not beat the child. Similarly, we are sending the children to suspension centers, giving them detention, things along that line. Madam Speaker, contradictions within contradictions. I wonder if the opposition has spent more than 5 minutes plotting out this motion, much less preparing.
Will the
their
member give
debates.
way?
Unfortunately for you, ma'am, I may not be able to do so right now. The member for Chaguanas West proudly boasted, I am a woman and I am for that. Madam Speaker, if you're a woman and you are proud to say that you will send your child to school to be beaten, I am ashamed for her and all other women who think along that line.
Will the member give way?
Unfortunately for you, again, I will not be able to. My time is really against me now. I continue as well. May I remind her that within Trinidad and Tobago, we have both female and male teachers. The slap that a female teacher will administer to a child is completely different to that of a male teacher. The member for La Hoqueta declared that corporal punishment must be administered at the discretion of the teacher. Madam Speaker, what is in my opinion may not be the same as what he may say corporal punishment is. I can administer one sound slap to a child, whereas he may think that it may be a small tap, like don't do that. That is not corporal punishment, Madam Speaker. I move on. The member for Sangre Grande accused this government of saying, have you, meaning the government, no compassion for mothers, and showed a graphic picture of a mother weeping for her child. Madam Speaker, it is ironic to say that they are on the very side compromising the rights of a child and beating them. How is that compassionate? Contradictions, Madam Speaker. I move on to member for Tobago East, who apparently loves statistics as well. Well, let me tell you, I have one for you as well, sir. You claimed that Madam Speaker, he claimed that over 300 crimes have been committed. Need I remind this minister that over 87% of these crimes were committed by people who were corporally punished, i.e. before 13 years ago. Madam Speaker, member after member from the opposition, starting from Talparo, go straight down to the last member who spoke, claimed that all of our sanctions have not worked and have in fact failed. But here I have a statistics from the UNDP report of 2012, which stated it is perhaps too early in many cases to fully assess the success of various programs implemented in the Caribbean. Madam Speaker, they have had hundreds of years of corporal punishment, yet it never worked. 13 years ago, it was abolished, yet now they choose to bring back this same motion. Madam Speaker, what have they prepared for us today? Have they thought out this motion? Absolutely not. I wish to quote again from a psychologist who is a member of the Committee of the Rights of a Child, who in 2011 stated, teachers must go beneath the skin of the brain and your heart to appeal to your reason and to inspire you. Corporal punishment is violent, demeaning, aggressive, and is disciplinary instruction which only teaches our children that the only way to resolve the conflict is by resorting to violence. Madam Speaker, I urge both members of the government and opposition today to vote along the lines of morals and ethics and not along lines of party politics and party affiliations. Thank you.
Honorable members, the speaking time of the honorable member for, Bedassie O'Meara has expired.
Speaker, I beg to move that the speaking time for the honourable member be extended by a further 3 minutes.
Honourable members, the question is that the speaking time for the honourable member for Bedassie O'Meara has be extended by 3 minutes. All in favour say aye. Aye. Any against? The ayes have it. Member, you may continue.
Okay, I seem as though I have more time now to contradict and to point out their flaws. Madam Speaker, two members, in fact, Tobago East and the other one I really can't remember right now, claim that they are both products of corporal punishment. Madam Speaker, I have not been corporally punished, yet I stand here today as a proper citizen of Trinidad and Tobago. Madam Speaker, I ask you to note, Madam Speaker, I ask you and the rest of Trinidad and Tobago to note who is on opposition and who is in government. statement at this point in time before they claim that I am bashing them and using more unparliamentary language, as they might feel hurtful again. Madam Speaker, again I come. Please vote along the lines of morals and ethics and not according to party affiliations. Thank you.
The Honourable Member for Aruka.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. So I think it's about time that we agree on one thing today. Every child deserves their basic needs, food, water, and shelter, being provided. However, we can clearly see that how we have different opinions when it comes to the development of a child. We, the opposition, confidently support that corporal punishment is needed to discipline a child so that he or she can become a productive and respectable product of society. Corporal punishment can be used as a disciplinary method since it maintains control. All we want to do is basically show the students that there have consequences to their action, Madam Speaker. They should be forced to think twice before they act. There should be a sense of fear, not fear of being afraid, but fear to respect that teacher, to show that, hey, we can't just show disrespect to our teacher and then say the laws are protecting us, they can't touch us. Okay.
Is the member aware that criminals convicted of felonies are not allowed to be beaten in our correction system? Therefore, why must we beat the future of our country?
Dr. Diana Bomrin, a world-renowned clinical and development psychologist, found that children who were never spanked tend to have behavioral problems, and probably that's why they end up in jail. Corporal punishment can serve as a long-term lesson to remind students that every bad action have consequences. So, in conclusion,
36, the member is reading from script.
Honourable members, may I remind you all not to read from your script once again. Honourable member, you may continue.
Well, let me just wrap up. In conclusion, we, the opposition, wish to reintroduce corporal punishment to provide teachers with an additional method to counter the negative behaviors displayed by students. I thank you.
The Honourable Minister of National Diversity and Social Integration.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, I have come to a general consensus that the opposition are aliens of the truth. Madam Speaker, they are simply orchestrating violence as a suitable means in counteracting violence. Madam Speaker, they are linking a barbaric act to conform to civility. Madam Speaker, these two cannot go together. They are a non-functional walking oxymoron. Madam Speaker, I would like to draw an example from the book entitled Children First, written by Penelope Leach. It states, when a big kid hits a little kid on the playing ground, we call him a bully. 5 years later, when he punches a woman for her wallet, he is called a mugger. Later still, when he slugs a fellow worker, he is called a troublemaker. But when he becomes a father and hits his tiresome, disobedient child, we call him a disciplinarian. Why in this ladder of violence, the father's role is regarded differently from the rest? Madam Speaker, my Ministry of National Diversity and Social Integration's mandates are built upon inclusiveness, equity,